Grief can take many forms and it can be triggered in different ways. In today's Mental Health and Me, we're talking about climate grief. And joining me now is Amanda Rebel, a therapist based here in Colorado who focuses on climate-related trauma. And Amanda, define what is climate grief?
Yeah, so I can give an example of climate grief. So last fall, the East Troublesome Fire quickly exploded, destroying homes, mountainsides, and a way of life. And people who had been used to a certain way of life suddenly lost it. So the intersection between a climate change weather event, such as a huge wildfire, and the emotional response to the loss of homes, way of life, beautiful hikes, is climate grief.
Yeah, when you think about the folks that live there because they love that area and the beauty around it, and you're angry, you're just angry over something you can't control. So have you seen more people in your practice seeking help for things like climate grief?
I have, yes. I think the most recent UN report kind of gave me a surge of phone calls and interest and concern about how do I cope with this huge big thing of kind of like unknown weather and how that affects people's emotions and behaviors and mental health.
I think a lot of us felt pretty helpless and upset after hearing that particular report. And of course, there was a lot of discussion about what we can do now, but I think there's a lot of concern about what we've lost.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And so, coming from a mental health perspective, grief, I tell people, is normal. It's a normal response to a loss. And right now, people are grieving, for example, less thunderstorms here in Colorado in the summertime, more smoky air in Denver. And I just help people process those various feelings, like you mentioned, anger, hopelessness, sadness, despair, anxiety, to help people kind of move to the other side of that and move through those feelings.
Yeah, so how do you identify that? Like saying, okay, this might be climate grief that I'm feeling, more than just, I'm really consumed with this, or how do you identify that?
That's a great question. And, a lot of people who call me or email me have already kind of identified, like, I'm really stuck on my concern about the earth. I have kids. I'm worried about their future. I'm worried about my kids' future. So a lot of people already kind of identify that they're anxious. And oftentimes, as we process kind of what's underneath the anxiety, so to speak, there's a deep sadness and a sense of loss.
Yeah. So what's your suggestion? How do you think people should get help, and how do they start? Just by reaching out?
Yeah, they can reach out, to, a therapist, a counselor, someone who I think kind of understands maybe a little bit about climate grief or climate anxiety, or, talking to a trusted friend or a trusted person who is sort of on the same wavelength as they are, as far as their concern about the future of our world.
Yeah, no one should feel isolated, especially when you're feeling these feelings. Amanda Rebel, thank you so much for talking to us. I think you touched on a lot of things that we've all been talking about as of late. Thank you.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.